How to insure your jewelry. I'm Justin.
And I am Aaron.
And this is Insurance Hacks, where we help you hack your way through this complicated world of insurance and hopefully come out better at the end of the video. So today we're going to talk about how to insure your jewelry. Insuring your jewelry is generally done on a property policy like a homeowner's policy or a renter's policy. Now, most policies do come with a minimum amount of coverage. It may vary by state, it varies by policy, it varies a tremendous amount. So if you don't have very much jewelry, you have a blanket amount, just ask your professional about it. But if you have high dollar jewelry, pinky rings, fancy watches, all that sort of thing, you're gonna wanna either have it blanket or scheduled.
Yeah, you're gonna wanna do that because the best policies are gonna have $5,000 of blanket coverage, maybe. The worst policies are gonna have as little as $500 or maybe even less of total amount of coverage for all of your jewelry. So if you have jewelry, make sure you're covered either on a blanket or a schedule. A blanket is going to be just an overall amount of coverage. It's going to be a number, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000.
So you can pick that number based on the amount of jewelry you have?
You pick that number based on all of the jewelry. If it was all missing one day when you came home, how much would you need to replace all of that? Okay. So that's a blanket. You don't have to itemize it. You don't have to spell it out, document it. You just have to say, I want this much coverage. Then you can do a scheduled. It's more complicated, but it's better coverage. A schedule is typically going to give you worldwide coverage. All risks, going to cover mysterious disappearance if your ring just breaks, those sort of things. But it is scheduled, which means it's going to be itemized. You're going to have to list a description for rings and necklaces, bracelets. You're going to need to know the stones, the cut, the clarity, the color, and the carat. You're going to need what type of metal the setting is in. For watches, you're going to need the brand, the model, the serial number is helpful. Whatever you can do to document what you actually have and specifically what the value is on the piece that you want covered.
That is a lot. Now, that's if you're going to put it on your homeowner's or your renter's policy. The second way to cover jewelry is on what's called a personal articles floater policy. Now, this can be written through the same company that your homeowner's policy is through, or it can be a separate company that specializes in insuring jewelry and collectibles.
It could be called personal articles floater, could be called an inland marine, it could just be a jewelry schedule, just in layman's terms.
Right, very good. And so those policies that are separate can be a little more expensive, certainly, but when it comes to your expensive jewelry, we're talking about $100 for a couple, many thousands of dollars. But while they may be a little bit different in price, there is a small advantage in that they're not part of your homeowner's insurance. So if you have to make a claim, you're not going to be seen as someone who makes claims on their home policy. So it's a way to insulate yourself from those sort of rate changes that can happen with a claim.
Absolutely. A theft claim can cost you hundreds of dollars more every year on your homeowner's insurance, so keeping that separate would be valuable. In order to do that, though, you're going to need appraisals for your items.
Okay. In any particular amount?
Well, the appraisal needs to be from a licensed appraiser. The amount really is what it is worth, what it truly is worth, but that's the tricky part about appraisals.
Because the jewelers in their high dollar appraisals.
Well, you usually get an appraisal from your jeweler, and that jeweler who sold you the appraisal doesn't want to appraise it for just what you paid for it. He wants to make you feel like you got a deal. So I don't know many people who have an appraisal they got from their jeweler that doesn't say that their ring is worth twice what they actually paid for it. Everybody's got a guy, and that's fine. If that's what your ring is worth and that's what you believe it's going to take to replace it, that's an authority, that's a source, and there is an appraisal. It's from a licensed appraiser, and you can insure it for that amount. The problem is you cannot insure it for less than the appraised amount. No underwriter wants to knowingly underinsure a piece of property. You can also get appraisals from a third-party independent appraiser, and those appraisals also could be more than what you paid for the ring. But just keep in mind, if your budget is tight and you don't want to pay more premium than you really, I guess, have to, then make sure that your appraisal says what you want it to say about the value of your ring. Is that the check that you want at the time of loss if something were to happen to that ring?
Absolutely. Now, insuring jewelry sounds complicated, but it doesn't really have to be. You don't have to insure any of it, very frankly. But it's a smart thing to talk about with whoever you're buying your insurance from. Really, You don't ever have to buy insurance unless you've got a loan on something or the state makes you. And when it comes to jewelry, you live about as freewheeling a life as you want to. But it pays to understand the things that are available to you. Jewelry coverage is not expensive. While it may sound a little complicated, a good professional will make it relatively easy.
If you really do the math on it, what you pay for jewelry coverage, you would have to have that coverage for decades upon decades to lose money on it if you had a loss. And so if you ever do have that loss, you're going to be really happy you had that jewelry coverage. So I hope you learned something from this video today. If you have any questions, please make sure to leave them in the comments below. We will absolutely respond to them, and we may even make a special video just for you. Please remember, like, subscribe, and share, and help our content flow. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
The Phoenix Insurance for you.